come along. She didn't get.
No,
But you made the change. I just want you to just regarding that issue. So I will let you know when I'm here. Try that. That's through you, TJ? Okay, so I'll just mention it here. Rather than me going back and trying to get to the he wants to be here. Okay?
You're having problems.
I just let you know that you're here in the gallery, and so when I do my report, I will mention that you're here. Council can ask you questions through him, so you can say through you and then ask questions. Well, you can't say anything when they ask you questions, but if they ask you a question, I recommend answering. It's your choice, though. Alrighty? So, but it's pretty casual otherwise. Thanks.
Hair's going great, it's falling out, and you can't afford to lose it.
That's all I need. There. Good now. Not more than a pinch, just a pinch.
Call the council meeting to order and ask for a motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Lawton, Councillor Hallahan, all in favor? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted. So for the Reeves report, I'll start out with there's going to be a municipal night at the Blythe Festival, Thursday, July 25th. And the play is going to be Beyond the Farm Show. And that I enjoyed it very much in the opening, and that the caliber of acting was superb. I think 85% of the characters that I could put the full name on, so that I found that very interesting. Also, that there's dealing with wind energy and renewable energy. There's to be a PC Caucus Renewable Energy Symposium, 30th of July, at the Albany Club, 91 King Street East in Toronto, and the event starts at 9 a.m. It's industry experts, keynote speaker, and roundtable discussions. For inquiries or RSVP, contact Lisa Thompson at her Toronto office. And this event is intended for stakeholders in the renewable energy field, proponents, citizens groups, municipalities, and others from across the spectrum who are interested in renewable energy issues. Also, as I mentioned before, that it was a very nice opening for, official opening for the Blythe Festival season on Friday night, and I feel that they have a very strong program of plays this year. I hope it all goes well. We'll move on to reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. Motion. Councillor McGowan and Deputy Reeve Reach. All in favor? Carried. Kathy, no deputations tonight. Business arising from previous meetings. The CAO Long prepared a report for us. Do we have a motion or discussion?
The only one question I had, I would be supportive of installing one of these units. My only question is, do we have money within the budget?
Well, obviously, we didn't budget for it this year, so we would either have to take it from like the council contingency account or one of the materials and supplies account. And if it was something that council was really interested in, we would just have to fit it in the budget that we have.
The one question that I had on it was the lease. It would be less than $100 extra to actually do the lease, and there'd be the full warranty through that 5-year period. And I wondered if that lease was worth the warranty and everything, and going on the lease basis. It's $90-some extra to go that way, depending on what the shipping would be. That I didn't know what the shipping would, when you included tax in. So that was one of the things that I personally questioned, if it would be just as good to do the lease. Councillor Watt?
Vince, I would ask whether it makes sense, do we believe that we could approve this in principle, since it's a relatively small amount, it's within the financial management commitment level of staff, and they could decide whether it's best to go by lease or otherwise, but we give the permission to go ahead with the acquisition of that facility.
Deputy Reeve.
The only question that I have on this is the cost of the unit is as recorded, but does that include the electrician doing the wiring, and what is the cost of that? Because I know a 90 amp breaker is expensive, and so that's going to be probably another $2,000 or $3,000.
Oh, really?
Not for right now, right?
No, but by the time you have it installed with an electrician.
Councillor McGowan?
I was curious about installation costs, but I don't think they're going to be quite that high. My other question through you to maybe the deputy clerk would be, have sites been discussed at all or contemplated? Or have you had the clerk thrown around some ideas, or has he talked to Public Works, maybe?
Okay. That maybe that is something that we should try and nail down for our meeting in 2 weeks, and that we could pass a motion in principle that we're in favor, but for nailing things down exactly how we're doing it, that we would look at it in the meeting in 2 weeks.
I would make that a motion in principle for
Lawton and McGowan. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay. There's nothing to bring out of health and safety. Okay. Moving to the Director of Corporate Services, Deputy Clerk. That our council meeting attendance forms are to be handed in, and our Chief Building Official, Dave Black, is here to answer questions and discuss things on the update on wind turbines and the report that he put together. Discussion. Dave, do you want to do a preamble, or?
Oh, I can do a preamble for the policy. I don't know how many councilors had the opportunity to take a look at the last page where all the websites were. Did you have a chance? In particular, did you happen to take a look at the non-willing host map? No? Okay. This is just an update, because I think that's other in the policy report. So during the formation of this this policy, as it pertains to wind turbines, you notice that I did not put any setback numbers in the report or the policy, because those setbacks are mandated by the Green Energy Act and under provincial legislation. However, I feel that the policy would at least get wind energy developers in the door, and this would be the first step that we would enter into discussion with a possible developer of this type of energy, and he would follow the steps within this policy. Can it be expanded? Certainly could be. There's a number of things that weren't included. It's very general, because I don't know which way you'd like to go with regards to fees, because there'd have to be a discussion with the Works Department, because it would affect road structure and possibly some other items as well. But the policy is fairly general, but I think it's a good start. Our first start, of course, it's in the official plan, it's in the zoning, it's in the building bylaw, and now we have a policy that we can start with to move a project forward with regards to what's happening in the province and wind energy. Because we all know it's changing. There's 2 cases in particular that are in the courts. One deals with ACW and one deals with Blue Water. And the other reason I did not put any numbers in the policy is because, do we want to go to court in a battle against the provincial legislation that's in place? I don't think that's money well spent. That could be a personal opinion. But it did take a lot of time to look at the information. You've seen the list that I've looked at, plus other items from other municipalities, and this is the draft for this document.
Councilor Bailey?
I looked this all over the weekend, and I feel that we have 2 different scenarios we're working on. One is our draft, our policy, which I believe we should have in place, because right now they can come to town and do what they like, and we have no control. The other is the unwilling host, and I'd like to deal with them separately. I think we should put our policies in place and have them ready to go should they come. The other would be whether we want to deal with being an unwilling host or not, and we're clearly looking at this map, and that is the trend. Having said that, I'm pretty sure all these guys are going to have policies in place, so I'm going to put a motion forward that we accept the policy as written.
I'll second that motion.
Councillor McGowan?
Question. So David, would be your intention at some point then to amend the policy to include numbers, fees?
Should
This
that,
is just a baseline policy
Yeah.
to get us started.
right. And as I mentioned in my package, that since I've been here December 2004, I've had no inquiries with regard to large-scale wind development, so I don't think we're in quite the right area with regards to the wind maps that you may have looked at on one of the web pages as well. But that's not to say that if other areas don't want to become a host, is that they will go someplace else. They will find it.
Councillor Waldron?
I don't know if you can answer this question, but is there a possibility that by passing a motion without deciding whether we're on, which side we're on, are we indicating to someone that we would be a willing host?
Councillor McGowan?
I do not think so. This policy will get them in the door, and they might want to discuss it with us, but they'd have to come through the door to discuss it. And then at that time, we would have to make your intentions known. Or you could go right to this step and do what 55 other municipalities are doing. Is that the answer?
Yep.
Sort of great.
Sort of.
And to be quite honest, they can come through the door today.
They could come in with an REA and plop it on the front counter, and if everything's there, my clock ticks with regards to issuance of building permits.
So I think what we're saying, my point of view is we pass the policy, as Councillor Bailey says, we have a framework there that gives us some control. That does not preclude the municipality from passing a motion saying they're not a willing host.
I wouldn't think so.
And there's too many messy situations going on all across the province. I think that our municipality of Davidson does not want to get into that battle. So I think it protects us in both ways.
I agree with that. And any further discussion? Comments? Okay, on the motion, all in favor of the motion? Carried. And thanks, Dave. Just going through a bunch of it, I know that you went through a pile of information, and thank you for the good report.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving. You have another comment? Oh, sorry. Ray?
I would make a motion that we're not a willing host.
Yeah, Councillor McGowan seconds. Okay, any discussion on that?
I just have a bit, because I'm actually, we're gonna go against wind turbines, and and I know there's a lot of uproar around, and I might be stepping in a lot of mud, but I can't get over the fact that 25 miles this way, we have the biggest nuclear plant in the world, or second biggest nuclear plant in the world. 25 miles this way, we have a willing host for the radiation that takes thousands and thousands of years to disperse. So we're sitting in between the middle of the two of this. We all have cell phones on us tonight, or we all carry cell phones. And Samsung recalled their cell phones because the radiation in your ear was going to cause a brain tumor a while back. I know I was lucky enough to have one of them. So I just don't see why you'd want to be an unwilling host of wind energy. Other than that.
I think what we're saying is that in putting the policy in place, there are so many unknowns right now with what's going on. There's the legal unknowns. There's health studies going on. And I think and I can't speak for Ray, but I would imagine his intent is that we're not a willing host at this point. It doesn't mean forever and ever, but I would like to see some of these issues cleared up before the municipality opens itself up in any way to wind energy. That's not saying never, that's saying some of these issues I would like to see worked out.
Personally, on the health issues, that I know people that do have health issues. And they may not be in a library someplace, but I know of people that have built wind towers on their properties and had to move off because of the effects of them. And that if you go ahead and build them, you believe in the technology. But there's a small number of people that some things from them will affect them, so that I think it's prudent to move forward slowly, and I believe this motion would allow us to move to have more health studies finished and a better understanding of it. So I will call the motion if there's no vote right.
I think this council has already supported a resolution a while back of somebody that is not in favor,
It's
right?
a very similar resolution.
Exactly. So, yeah, and I think it's been pretty well discussed here now. The health study is supposed to be done by 2014, is it not?
Sometime in 2014.
Yeah, so,
The federal government.
we send our own resolution in, like these resolutions that I see here are, we can pick either one or the other, I think they're both good resolutions, so, we'll send this type in.
Yes, that's what your motion is,
Right.
and
Yes.
is that just, Councilor Lyon.
It's not just the health issue. There are economic conditions too that need to be taken into account. Some of the basic ones that have been out for a long time, and I haven't seen them answered anywhere, is what do you do when the bearings all wear out and you have to replace the whole mechanism sort of thing. And the word earlier was that it would cost more to repair one of those machines than it would be to start from scratch and build a new one. So what do you do with the old one? And we have one sitting burned and using up space. Nobody seems to be very anxious to either do the repairs or remove it. And so, I mean, I think there are economic issues that are just not adding up.
Okay, and also in some of the materials, even in the propellers, they will not be accepted in a number of municipal landfill sites. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, moving to Director of Finance, Donna.
Okay, so we approved the 2013 budget, as we discussed, without depreciation included. And in 2009, our accounting standards for reporting purposes of the financial statements underwent major revisions. So this is an annual requirement that we have each year to report, to do up and consider report that we don't include depreciation in with our numbers. I've estimated that our annual depreciation for 2013 would be just over 1.5 million. However, we do have principal payments of $311,000 in our budget and just over $1 million in capital expenditures. So as I said, it's an annual requirement that we are required for each year to do under Regulation 284. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt that report.
Do we have a motion to adopt it? Deputy Reeve Reach and Councillor Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. On the Green Energy Act.
So as you know, July 1st, municipalities were required to file with the Ministry of Energy their 2011 consumption data. We did file that information on time by the end of June. I included, at this point, we're only required to file 2011 I do have 2012 compiled as well, and I put both years' reports in your packages. I did not file 2012 as yet. It's not due for another year. And also by next year, we have to have an energy demand management program in place as well. So, and at this point, we're not required to report on streetlights or seasonal. As you know, we have a lot more hydro bills than this throughout the summer with all the campground meters and park meters and those types of things. But for our own purposes, we are over the summer going to gather up that information as well so that we have our full kilowatt hour usage. So now, as we talked about at our energy and environment meetings, we have the data, we're able to track it. We've noticed some differences on certain buildings, so we're following up with Pat and her staff on some of those to see what those differences were. So it's good information, and we'll continue to monitor it and complete the other seasonal data with it. So are there any questions on that?
Councillor Vaughn.
I don't know if I'm the only one that can't understand a lot of this, but I've tried very hard, honestly, to figure out what all this means. And there seem to be some anomalies, some large facilities looking as if they're much more efficient than some tiny ones. And I just can't quite equate them. I know there are a lot of these, I don't want to get into the details now. But I would appreciate some help down the line. What are the hot spots? What are the issue areas that we need to oil? And where do we need to do some corrective work?
Get the 2 buildings that we have left on oil off oil. Those are the two great big numbers for greenhouse gases that you see in the reports. And
Yes,
that's
I think
consistent.
that clears up some of them.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
The propane and natural gas, greenhouse gas numbers are drastically lower for the same amount. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Do you want to comment on the taxifier then?
So I put in your agenda package the version of the taxpayer, and I also gave a few of you some samples of it. Before we do any mass production on that, I just wanted you to have one last look at it. This will be going out in our tax bills in August, and we have a few meetings coming up with interested stakeholders in the community too, so we're going to go over those items at those meetings. But I just wondered if you'd had a chance over the weekend. As I said, staff has worked on it. We know the numbers and we understand them, but I wanted to make sure that someone looking at it, you know, for the first time would also get some value out of the information. So if you have any changes or comments, if you would please email me tomorrow or see me after the meeting, just so that before we print off a large number of copies, I can make any changes that you would suggest.
Deputy Reeve.
I just want to say that I think this is an excellent document, and I would welcome it to be sent to everyone. It's self-explanatory and explains a lot of where our money goes.
Print is small, I realize that, but you can't get all the information on there without condensing the print.
I read with the lower third of my glasses.
Good.
Councillor Vaughn.
I would confirm what Councillor Deputy Reach is saying. I think it's a tremendous document. And the thing that it, I think, will allow people to do is when they feel that the taxes are too high, they can see where the money's going and say, well, this is where I'd like you to cut, rather than just a blanket statement saying the taxes are too high without specifying where they think that we're spending too much. So I think it can really inform the public so that they can do a more precise job of saying what their wishes are in terms of future management.
But on that, in that one chart listing where the tax money goes, that really jumped out at me the day that we had the 3 grade 10 classes in civics working on municipal government down for a class in the council chambers here, and that I know myself in answering some of the teachers' questions, how many things do people realize that our municipal tax dollars go to? I know a number of people that could maybe come up with 20, but it's actually closer to 60 that we have budgets for, so that I find that very interesting, and I think it's very good to get it out into the open so that people realize it. Thank you for that, Donna. And the budget review year to date.
And that was also in your packages, so if you had any questions about that, just send me an email if there was anything you're wondering about.
Well, thank you very much for that. If there's no questions on that.
I had a couple of questions,
Oh.
but Donna has answered them.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of very good information.
Good.
Okay, moving on to Director of Recreation and Facilities. Starting with the report on the airport farmland, the lease, and we do have Glenn Warwick in the gallery.
Yes, thank you. So in your package is a report giving some background information as well as a recommendation for the renewal of the airport land, farmland lease. And it's probably been our most challenging time to renew because the current market value of farmland leasing has gone so high over the last couple of years that it wasn't, you know, our normal couple dollars and off we go. So Glenn has been extremely helpful in these discussions, and I know I've had direction from some counselors, assistance from counselors who are familiar with lease rates on farmland, giving me some feedback. I guess the real crux of this is to go to tender or not, and in our lease agreement with Mr. Warwick, we do give him first right of refusal on the land, and after discussing with our lawyers the best way to go about that, we suggested that he provide us a price that was at market value for council to consider. If council does not want to agree to that rate, then we would look at tendering and going out to the market to see if somebody wants to pay more. However, it's never a guarantee when we tender what price we'll get in at. We also don't know what, it also is questionable what tenant will get. And I can vouch for Mr. Warwick. He has been an excellent tenant. He has paid his land lease rates on time, and he treats the land very well. He's respectful of the airport and all that goes on there as well, in working with him. So based on all of those things, I am making the recommendation that we renew at the rate he has offered, which is in the range of current market value. But I'm open to questions and comments from council, and of course you can direct your questions to Glenn through the reading.
So
Councilor McGowan?
just a question, not knowing what fair market value is for land lease right now, can some of the councillors give us some range so we know?
The Ray, do you want to answer that, or do you want
Well,
to?
I think when we're looking at $270, yeah, we're looking at that range. And I think we have a very good tenant, Glenn, I realize that, and Pat and I talked about it, and we talked about a tendering process. Because we're not talking small dollars anymore, and as council, is that the way to do business as council? Because we're talking $190,000 here now. 180, right? Am I wrong?
Over 3 years, yes.
Yes, right.
Over 3 years. So I was
Well,
like,
that's
wow,
right.
that was good, but over 3
That's
years,
right,
yeah.
so it is 190,000 or 185,000, so as a council, should we be putting it out for tender or not? So, and I think that's kind of what, and then Jim had some input into it too, Campbell, and but $270 and a good tenant, that's fine. I have no problem with that either, but it's just the way council should be doing business. Or shouldn't be, anyway, because we're not talking $5,000 anymore.
Councillor Bailey?
When was the last time it was actually put out to tender?
I don't think that it has been in my time, since 2006, been tendered. Glenn might be better to answer that, or Archie might.
I believe, when the previous landowner left, Mr. John King, I think that it was put up at that point, which would have been, Glenn, how long ago was that?
2002.
I've had it 9 years.
9
This-
years. I was
this
gonna say
year.
about almost 10 years. So it would have been done at that point. And I think at the time that it's been renewed, much like that is brought up, Glenn's been a very good steward of land and has been a fair, VC and has worked well with the airport. I mean, my main concern is that fair market value. It sounds like that is reasonable fair market value. You can go through a tendering process and end up with less than that too. Now, I don't realize you don't necessarily have to take the tender that's submitted, but I think you just don't clean up that.
Well, the thing especially with commodity prices trending downward strongly, that corn's back below $6 a bushel now and stuff like that, and that definitely takes that upper end profitability out of it. And another thing, in having it within the territory, being that the airport's at the front of the property, that there's the restriction on not growing corn on the front end. That restricts the higher market value crop per acre, so that way we can't have right at the top end when you're restricting the viability of the crops growing. So that I feel that this is right in the area that gives the tenant a chance to carry on a reasonable business with a reasonable expectation of being able to have something out of it. Councillor Bailey.
For me, it's not a matter of Mr. Warwick, whether he is or is not a good tenant. For me, it's a matter of, are we going to get ourselves in a legal bind here? That's a lot of money just to say we can go year after year after year. And I understand it's a very close-knit, or very few people are going to want the land. I understand that part. Having said that, I feel that we should be tendering it out. I think it's too much money just to go year after year after year. We don't do that. We should not be doing that with whether we buy tractors, graders, or what we're buying. And I don't think we should just say to somebody, you can do the town hall here for $375,000. We tendered it out. I believe we seem to keep slipping back into this comfortable, let's just leave as is, as is. And for me, it's not a matter of pricing. It's not a matter of how the ant lands it. It's just a matter of good business policy. That's the only place I'm going with this.
Thank you. And really, that's council's decision that's on the table here today, and I'm not going to influence you one way or the other. I am going to point out, though, in the report, under future considerations, if that is how council deems that it's appropriate we go forward, then I recommend we amend the lease agreement to take out that the current tenant has first right of refusal. Because I think that is where you could get into legal challenges. We have that in the tenant agreement, yet as council, we want to tender it out. And that's why I had to seek legal advice on this, to say, how do we honor both sides of that predicament? So perhaps you can decide what you want to do. This is the recommendation our lawyer made to us that we first offered to him, and then you can go to tender. But if council wants to, in future lease, take that clause out, that may clean things up for future discussions. That's just a thought.
I'd also recommend that we do a 5-year lease. I think it's too much for somebody to put the equipment in, or a long lease. I have no problem with that, because you're putting a lot of money into equipment and a lot of time, and you've got to get things going. So I would prefer to do a lease, and I don't care the extent of the lease, but at least we've tendered it out and did the proper thing.
Deputy Reeve.
over a lot of years, I've dealt with a lot of farmers that have been renting a lot of land, and farmers that have rented their land out, and they've had good tenants and bad tenants. And I think that when we have a good tenant, I think it's a value that you can't put a price tag on, because the land, number one, is looked after. Number two, the tenant looks after you as well, in that he does look after the land, he does other things, he lives within our guidelines and pays the bill. Where a lot of other leases that I've seen over the years with other farmers, they rented their land out for more money, and at the end of the year they haven't got the check, and then 2 years later they still don't have the check. We have a good tenant that pays the bills and has come up with what sounds to me like a very, very reasonable price. And I checked with a couple of friends of mine that are farmers and what they're paying, and I disclosed this price to them, and they said that's good. So I would make a motion that we renew the lease with Mr. Warwick.
Ken? Further discussion? Councillor Maude.
I have a question about the legal advice that we received from Pat. How do you deal with his first right of refusal, it says in the present agreement, and going into tender? How do you bridge that gap?
So I discussed this with our lawyers, and how we're approaching this today, which is allowing Mr. Warwick to present to us a fair offer. But ultimately, it does state in the lease that the option to renew is within the leaseor's stake. I can read it. So it's really, in the end, what you would like to do. But we do want to give him the opportunity to renew, and if we have found him to be a suitable tenant, and he's offering current market value, that is, it's in our agreement that we are saying we would probably accept that. And that's where I'm getting at. We've done this first. If you decide to decline on that, Mr. Warwick would have the opportunity in a tender situation to resubmit. But if someone else puts in $1 more than him, then he would not be the one that would get the land. It would be strictly a dollar thing. It would not be, we would have no gauge to determine whether that farmer would be a good tenant or not until we've experienced them.
Just a follow-up question. So it would seem to me that if we were to honor that clause, if we received a bid that's higher than Mr. Warwick has given, he would have first right of refusal then to offer a higher price. Is that not true?
In speaking with the lawyers, we could handle it the way we've done it this way, or we could have done it that way, which was to put it out to tender and see what came in. And it's either or. You don't have to do both if you choose.
It seems to me that would be the fair way to give him a
It
good
would be
chance.
for Mr. Warwick, but I guess the challenge was then for the farmer who did put the bid in and had the highest bid to then tell them, I'm sorry, but you didn't get it. We now have a farmer who's matched that. And so that's where no matter how we skin this cat, it's difficult. So I guess we went with I think a respectful way for Mr. Warwick to come forward with a good offer, for council to consider that, and then go forward from there with the tendering process.
Councillor Bailey.
Just a couple of questions. I'm going to presume this isn't for this year. You're already planted and going out for yet. The second thing is, when it comes to the highest bidder does not always have to be accepted, and that's put in every contract I've ever signed or dealt with. So if there was a $1 difference, and again, the money the man has invested in equipment, I can't see it. But I still think we should go back to the tender process. We're getting away from it. It's nothing to do with how well somebody does or what they've got going on or who they are. It's just a matter of it's just good business policy. And can I get a record?
Okay. Any further discussion? Whenever you're ready, Kathy.
What's the
right.
motion again?
As in your report. Glen Warwick at the rate of $207 per acre, 2014, 2016. The motion's on the top of your report.
Kathy is going to, as soon as she's ready.
Okay. Audit? Councillor Audit?
Yep.
Sorry. I'm going backwards.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Hallahan? Councillor McGowan?
Yes.
Councillor Audit?
No.
Councillor Reach?
Yes.
I mean Deputy Reach?
Yes.
Councillor Bailey?
No.
Motion is
Okay. Motion is lost. It would have tied, so that it would have lost. Pat?
So I guess what I'm looking for then is a motion that we would go to tender, and whether Brock wants to put forward his suggestion or not, but we don't need to within our legal advice. And then if I could get that motion, that would be, then staff can proceed.
Do you want to word a motion,
Yes.
Councillor Bailey?
I will try. I'd like to put a motion forward that we send the land to tender for the respective use we were talking about. But in that motion, I want it so that the lowest tender is not necessarily accepted.
Highest.
Highest is not necessarily accepted.
Yes.
They provide 6 references. Okay. Got caught up, Kathy? Okay, Councillor Vaughn?
Going back to my further point that I was making.
Worship,
Point
point
of
of order,
order.
we need a second.
Seconder?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You willing to second?
I'll second the discussion.
Okay, proceed with discussion.
It seems to me that it would be sort of hamstringing the offer if we say that there is another bidder that could superimpose his bid on this deal. But on the other hand, I think that we have to honor the right of refusal in some way in how we handle this transaction. So I would like to follow that other option that Pat told us about in terms of if we go to tender and we have the highest bidder, Mr. Warwick would have the opportunity of going above that bid.
Going above or matching?
Yes.
Which? Going above?
Yes.
Offering more? I
Do you
think,
have a question, Councillor McGowan?
Just an observation,
Okay.
maybe an obtuse one, but I'll fire it out there anyway. No other tendering process that I have ever been involved in was precluded by a discussion in open session about a tendered or a suggested price on a contract. I just want to throw that out there. This makes for interesting
It's a good point.
scenario. So, but by all means, go to town.
That basically, when we haven't accepted, the motion is wide open.
Oh, yeah.
As to Councillor Hallahan, did you have a question, or
Yeah, it's wide open.
Councillor Bailey?
I just won't accept the amendment to my motion, Brock spoke about it simply has to be go to tender, and we have right of refusal. We do not have to accept the lowest,
Highest bid.
highest bid. I'll get that straight for the night's out.
I guess I need some clarification on that statement, but we would not accept the highest bidder, and perhaps
Not necessarily.
not necessarily accept the highest bidder, because we have had legal advice before about that, and I would like Donna to comment on how we would, before you pass this motion, clarify that in the tendering process and state that in the tender document, that go ahead and bid, but we don't have to take the highest bid. So I want some clarity on that, and if, just on the second point, if Brock could clarify whether he means that Mr. Warwick would match the highest offer or have to offer 1 penny more. Just for clarity, because it's the tender document that I'll be back at my desk trying to create.
Councillor McGowan.
I think that in all deference to Councillor Boddy, he's trying to create a hybrid. I'm not sure you can in this situation. You have the current lease arrangement in which Mr. Warwick has first right of refusal. Council has decided to go in a different route now. I think it's one or the other. I don't think you can have a hybrid. Council always has the right to do with what it pleases, which also can trigger legal ramifications, possibly, or possibly not. So I don't think you can really just sort of mash the two together to get the best of both worlds. You've made your decision. As a council, we have, decided to go the tendering process. That's what you're left with. I'll leave it to the treasurer to comment on the tendering process, and whether council could very well be stuck with a very good price and a very poor tenant, which would end up costing a lot more money in the end, but that's...
Agreed. Deputy Reeve.
If we go to the tendering process, I would like to see the people that tender to provide 3 references with their tender, plus a letter of credit.
Okay. Are we talking a strictly tendering process that is open to everybody that wants to tender, and that we evaluate the tenders as they come in, or is there any going back? I think that if we're going to a tendering process, the motion to have anything tying back to the current is too much of the hybrid. We either do one or the other.
Just a point of order.
Councillor Wadden?
Just a point of order, we've already had a motion and it's been accepted.
Speaking to the motion, or yours?
I'm speaking to the motion, and I'm looking to Councillor Wadden as to clarification.
Will you make that a motion, Bob? you
No,
don't.
we're already discussing the motion.
We're discussing the motion.
What I'm offering is to take out my exception, which
Okay.
obviously complicates things too much.
Okay,
And
okay.
So it's
That-
strictly a tendering process.
That's in the process. So that cleans things up considerably. Do we want Deputy Reeves' comments as part of the motion?
Mover and seconder should.
Mover and seconder have to agree.
I like the motion just the way it was.
Call for a recorded vote.
Okay.
You want the original motion?
What would be voting on? So that basically it would be going to tender.
So that we enter into a tendering process for the rental of the airport land for 2014-2016 with the lowest tender not necessarily accepted.
Highest tender, not necessary.
I'm sorry.
I'm copying you with the highest tender not necessarily accepted.
Okay.
Do I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
I'm in favor of the Deputy Reeves' suggestion about references and
Letter of credit.
Letter of credit.
Are you agreeable?
I would refer that back to Donna, is that common practice? If it is, I'll accept it, I just never heard of that.
References, yes, the letter of credit, I'm not sure, like for, a construction job, we ask for a bid bond or an insurance certificate. For any land leases, I'm not familiar with it, but that doesn't mean that it's common practice if you had run into it before.
Deputy,
Yeah, because I was involved in the agriculture industry, there were a lot of feed contracts and land rental contracts that went out where credit references and a letter of credit was required.
Can I, with the Reeves permission, can I just refer back to Mr. Warwick?
I think we're past that,
Well,
because that motion was turned down.
which one?
To
Oh,
keep him as,
no, no,
that
no,
council has
I'll do this
said,
real
the motion to go through with the 270 an acre
Yes.
for him,
Yes.
council has chosen to go with another motion to tender.
Yes, okay, Neil.
So that,
I'll take that back, and I would like to ask Ray Hallahan, who's a farmer. When somebody's renting land out, and I know nothing about this, is there a lot of people renting land out? Because if somebody is renting land out, you just disqualify. He's got no.
I think, Pat, I think we should not be putting stuff into this tonight. Pat's gonna come up with a tender, Bernie,
Yeah.
as to what people do, ask questions as to how the different scenarios are, Pat, right? As for the-
If I had clarity, I would.
Councilor McGowan.
Sorry, there are agreements, land agreements.
Yeah, I have, I mean, the lease agreement would be sampled into the tender, people would know what they're signing.
Exactly.
There would be a process, sealed bids by a certain date. There would be an opportunity for council to review those.
Yeah,
Is that what you're,
that's what I'm saying, so let's not get it complicated. The motion is now, just gonna be tendered out. Pat's gonna look into the specs of the tender, right?
correct?
Yeah.
I'm just looking for, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, I'd be interested to hear what, because I'm getting an impression from Pat that she's a little confused how she's gonna put this tender document together. Am I
Yes.
reading more into? So it already in fact is more complicated now. So before I decide how I vote, I'd like to know how that tender document's gonna look. So
Exactly.
what you're gonna put in it.
well, there's no hurry, but basically, if somebody wanted to put forward a tabling motion till we can bring more information back to the table, having more information in place, that I would be willing to accept a tabling motion on this subject.
Your worship, point of order, I think you've got a motion on the floor, you have to, it would have to be defeated first before you can have a tabling
No,
motion.
you don't. You can table
Can you
it.
table it?
Table it
You have to go to the
anytime.
second or agree?
Okay, I will table the motion.
Vote.
Move a tabling motion.
Table the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we're done with that subject as of right now.
We'll just do it.
Okay. Point number 2, Pat, is Blythe dugouts.
Yeah, I wanted to point out to council that the dugouts in the Blythe arena, no, Bradford Diamond are completed, and that it would not have happened without the incredible support of the Blythe Legion and the Blythe Lions. And not only did they provide financial support, they also had a worker group there every night to make sure that, and they did all the labor to get the dugouts out. I would like to suggest that council perhaps send a letter of recognition or something to recognize this community effort to these two groups.
Blythe and McGowan. All in favor of the motion? Carried.
And
3.
Right, the airport siding project is complete. The high school tech crew were up there providing all of the labor, and we were able to get a very good deal on the supplies, and so the project is under budget. The shop teacher had their students up there and supervised, so the workmanship is excellent, and it was all done at no cost to the township, the labor. Our crew painted, but they put all the siding up. It is tradition that when this group of students do this labor, that the group that has received the work donate a small amount back to their program, which helps pay for their bus and fuel to get to their sites to do their work. I would make a motion, or sorry, a recommendation that council make a motion to donate some funds back to this group. I don't have the total final cost of everything in yet from all of the different sources, but if we could donate 10% or $350 or whatever council deems appropriate for the project, I think that that would be much appreciated by the students and the school.
Councillor Bailey?
Just a question, so you don't know yet how much far under budget you were?
No, I had originally budgeted close to 8,000, and I'm not sure because I've got, but we're definitely under that. We're more like 5,000 or 6,000, I think, with their labor and all of that kind of stuff. And then one of our airport committee groups got us a really good deal on the siding, and so I still have to get all the final bills in, but yeah.
So do you think we should wait till the final bills are in? That'll give us an idea of how much is left over, and we can make a donation from them, from that point.
That's fine. I can wait. It's a token donation.
I think that's a great idea, and it's great what they did, and I think we should use a fair amount of financing to thank them.
Other comments?
I don't think, from my experience with it, I don't think that, like, if Pat was $3,000 under budget, they're not looking for $3,000. You know, I think if you give them a reasonable amount to cover transportation costs and whatever incidentals there might be on, they'll be more than pleased. I mean, it goes back into the program to help them out, they'll be thrilled with it.
Well, it helps out the program next year. Deputy Reid.
I'll make a motion that we donate $400 back to the student.
Richie McGowan. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
I just wanted to make one other comment on another topic which isn't on the agenda, but I just wanted to make the council aware that we had 2 of our part-time seasonal recreation operators retire. And so we will be posting an ad to hire part-time casual recreation operators in Wingham. There are no new added hours to the complex. It is to cover the hours that we need on our 7-day schedule that runs from morning till night. So I want to just council to be aware that that will be in the next few weeks in the paper, in Wingham and in Blythe and in the area. So if there's any questions, they were aware of that happening.
Thank you, Pat. Any other questions for Pat this time? Okay, moving to new business. Karen, Pioneer Thrasher and Hobby Association. Moved. Councillor Blyden seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to council information. Any points councillors want to bring forward? I'll mention number 6. There's a blood donor clinic tomorrow at the Columbus Center, and it would be nice to have as many people out as possible. With the blood donor clinic in Blythe last week, the emergency services personnel are trying to help promote it, and this will, that was the first of Huron County blood donor clinics. Same process will be going tomorrow. Councillor McGowan?
Two items a little further down the list, number 11 and 12. This has been an ongoing issue, I know, in particular with the complex. And, you know, I've been witness to and heard a lot of kids talking about the amount of times they have to walk through the doors of the complex during the winter months and people huddling around the doors smoking, even though there's a 9-meter restriction. I wondered if either Pat would give us some ideas about enforcement or overall concerns. They did ask the Chief Building Officer, Dave Black, to look into any municipalities that had banned smoking on municipal property in its entirety. Apparently, he says they only have 2 responses and that they haven't done anything significant yet. They're tinkering with the idea, but nothing has yet firmed up. So I just wondered if somebody could comment. Clearly, it's a problem. It's been I know that we've got our ball diamond sign now, and that does seem to help in some cases. The arena seems to be an ongoing problem. You know, it's like the blue cloud you have to get through to get to the doors, and I think it's got to stop somehow.
Okay.
I guess, as you know, we were one of the leaders in first to put in that 9-meter rule from our doors, which is difficult to police at all times. I know from our staff picking up the cigarette butts that they're not 9 meters from the door. I guess it's 2 things. One, we really need help from the public to help enforce it, to say something to somebody who is breaking the law and assist that way. Alternatively, the town, North Huron complex is under cameras. We could put one there and contact the police if there's chronic, habitual people who are breaking the law, and they will charge them. We have last 2 years charged 2 people, but they were actually inside the vestibule smoking one, and one was in a dressing room. So we have had the Wingham Police involved in both of those cases, but and I know that in contacting the Wingham Police, they have said if there is a problem, they would always come and enforce that law, but we would have proof on a camera if we wanted to.
Councillor Vaughn.
I'd just like to say that we think that we're winning in some areas. Many people have noticed this summer that in front of the theater, in front of the Blythe Memorial Hall during the plays, at intermission, there are very few people smoking up there, which is traditionally a blue cloud. The other night when we were there, we came out at intermission, there was only 1 person in the whole area smoking. So I think we're winning. I'd throw in another suggestion that came, I think I mentioned this before in council, about the City of London main library. They had a problem with people standing around the entrance, and got a lot of complaints from people who wanted to avoid that cloud. And they tried everything. Police couldn't enforce it because everybody has a right to do what they want to do on the sidewalk. So they put a speaker up over the door and played classical music. And there were no more smokers within sight. So that might be an idea.
Either or.
Well, perhaps Pat could look into the costs associated with installing a camera by the entranceway.
I can bring
I mean,
the
you have to know who's doing it in order to catch them.
Okay. Deputy Reid.
I think that we need to do a little more than pay lip service to this. We've brought this issue up over the last couple of years more than once, and particularly around the school and other public places. And while I respect a person's right to smoke, I also respect a person's right to not have to go through the smoke. And I think that whether we have to do signage or more visible signage or draw a line on the pavement or something like that, I think we need to do a little bit more than just pay lip service and say, yes, we're going to do something. We need to have something a little more visible and do it not only at the Westcast Community Center, but the Blythe Arena and Memorial Hall and other public places.
Okay.
Any other ideas Pat can bring back, whether it's a line, a 9-meter line or whatever, I think would be very helpful as well. I mean, the fact that I don't even know how much staff time's involved, but there's ashtrays there, and yet the beds are just littered, like literally, like, you know, in spots it's an inch thick. It's ridiculous with cigarette butts, even though there's an ashtray right.
9 meters away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are buildings that are more challenging than others. 9 meters from the Blythe Arena entrance puts people into the parking lot. And so there's that safety issue there. So we really have to consider where we're sending the people. I know our answer would be, well, don't have one at all, right? But they do have a right to have one in a safe place, I guess. So we'll just have to think about how to position that, if we will allow them to be next to the building but away from the front door, or something like that. But we can revisit that as well.
Councilor Moore?
Item number 9 on the list, the battery collection policy from the county. I'd just like to say that there are a lot of people who have stored a lot of dead batteries and they don't know what to do with them. I know somebody asked me this over a year ago, and at that time we didn't have approval of collecting batteries, but we have it now. We've had it some time. But I'm wondering if it wouldn't be worthwhile considering a couple of things. One is considering using some other places for collection, retail businesses and that sort of thing. Because I think expecting people to go to the landfill site may be a bit much. It would be better, more convenient for some people to drop items like this off at a retail outlet or another kind of facility. Secondly, I would suspect there's a huge backlog of old batteries lying around somewhere. I know I have a stash of them in my place. And I'm trying to get time to take them to a recycling place. But I know some places have had a real campaign to collect dead batteries. In fact, one area, they invited all of the school children to take part in this, and they went around the whole town on a specific day and knocked on people's doors or invited people to come out and put their batteries onto a wagon or some kind of vehicle like that, which really, there were thousands and thousands of batteries of all shapes and sizes that were collected in that way. And I suspect, I have no proof of this, but I expect that there's quite a backlog in our households of old batteries.
Well, in speaking on the background of this, when it came to county council, that it was thought that there was no collection. Upon checking with the two companies that do collect them, there was already 18 commercial businesses that had plastic containers in their stores where people would be buying batteries for them to put the used ones. This is a heads up that anybody wanting the containers, especially in commercial business or a municipal office or wherever, that to contact those two businesses and they would supply containers for people to put them in, so that it's a service that is being offered.
So we're saying there's no need for any campaign or anything on our part?
That I would think, I know personally, we have used every other year for the hazardous waste that we've taken the bag of batteries in for that the North Huron Hazardous Waste Day in September. If council deems that we want to have it in a municipal structure, that we could apply to have one of those. The one thing I will say is not all dead batteries are completely dead. They have been known to light up fires if they get jumbled together wrong. Councilor Bailey.
Could we put it on our website, and maybe both the BIAs could put it on their websites, the locations in North Huron where you can actually take it? I'm not aware of where you would take it here in Wyndham.
Statens had been taking them. I'm not sure if they still are or not.
They are taking them at the Wingham landfill site.
The Reed Road landfill site.
Yes.
I wonder if Connie could maybe just open that, Connie, and see if that would be able to do that? I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
Under direction, Connie. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I add something to point number 2, supplement?
Certainly speak to it.
Thank you. I received, point number 2 is something that we're very proud of. It's a letter received from the Life Saving Society regarding our having the 4th largest life-saving program for small municipalities. I received another letter from the Royal Life Saving Society recognizing Kim Scholl, our aquatic supervisor, for all the volunteer work she does for the society. She's one of 20 people across Ontario who've been put on the quote-unquote president's list, and I thought that was another significant accomplishment of our aquatics program here in North Huron. So she donates her time to go out to assess other pools and people taking their tests to prevent drowning in our municipality and throughout Ontario. So I just wanted to make council aware of that.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, motion receive, read and file. Councillor Lydon and Deputy Reeve Reach. All in favor? Carried. For the correspondence, a motion to receive the card of thanks from F.E. Medill 2013 prom, Deputy Reeve and Councillor Bailey. All in favor? Carried. And moving into committee reports. Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. Is there any questions? Okay. Moving to point 2, Live Business Improvement Association. Minutes, the meeting held June 5th. Any questions? Councillor Lydon?
They note in their minutes that the 2 applications that they submitted for support have been approved by the HEDP, your Economic Development Partnership.
Okay, thank you. Moving to point 3, North Huron Police Services Board, minutes of June 18th meeting. Any questions?
If there is any questions, I'll do my best to answer. We are still, you will note in the minutes that we've sent a letter off to the Premier about the time frames with regards to the public appointments. After we made that, we did get word of one of the appointments, and that'll be coming through in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
We've done a couple.
Okay, moving to point 4, Wingham Business Improvement Association Executive Meeting held June 27th. Okay. Council reports and inquiries. Councilor Lydon?
Just make note, I've circulated a draft report on the landfill issue, and I hope that we'll have an opportunity to discuss it. My conclusions are not necessarily the best ones, and I'd like to get input from all members of council before we finalize that report.
Thank you for your work in digging through the information to bring us a condensed report of the information. other points? Councillor Bailey?
I'd just like to thank the town staff and everyone that was involved in Victoria Street West. It's so pleasant to go down there without bouncing all around. The electronics in that truck are very happy. You guys did a wonderful job, and it was a long time coming. I had a lot of complaints on that area since I've been on council because of, obviously, the activity in that area. So you did a great job, and thank you very much. I'd also like to report from the school meeting, the board meeting that I was at last week, I think it was. One of the things the new school is going to do is they're going to have what they call a walking bus. They're going to try to get away from using buses, and they're going to set up, we will be receiving, somebody will be coming in to go through our streets, and whichever streets need to be fixed up as far as the sidewalks on the paths they choose. I don't know if anybody's aware of that yet. Are you, Kelly? If they made, sorry, what was that? This is on the new school, and they want somebody to go around with you and all around town, and they're going to try to walk with children and get volunteers to help. Okay, somebody will be coming. They just want to go over the streets, and I already thanked them for paying for the repairs. No, it didn't go over too good. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on those two things. Also, I want to talk about, if I can, anybody else want? I just want to talk about the North Huron Block Parent. We've got this in our package, and it's information on the block parent. Steve's here tonight. So I just wanted to ask him how things were going. It's been a few years, 2-3 years now you've been doing this. If I may talk to him through the read.
Okay, question, that's your question through me to Steve?
Yes.
Do you have comments in answer to that, Steve, or?
Not right now.
Okay.
Just curious of how many people are involved in it now?
We'll probably be doing a press release in the next week or so.
Okay.
Worship, just one other thing under council.
Okay.
I wondered if we could send a note of thank you and congratulations to the Wingham, the North Huron Fire Department for their great presentation of July 1st fireworks again.
That is a motion, so I'll take a seconder. Deputy Reeve, seconds. And yes, they always do that great job, and thank you very much to them. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Do you have a report, Kathy? Okay, moving to public gallery questions and/or comments.
Attention, Pauline, there's something wrong with it.
He's missing the hat. In camera session. Okay. Confirmatory bylaw. First, second, McGowan and Biden. All in favor? Carried. Next meeting, July 15th at 7 o'clock, North Huron Council Chambers. Motion to adjourn by Vauden and Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. We're done.